Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the U Talk Show. My name is Kyle Rawlinson. This is Horst Burkhardt, and today we are asking a question that I think will be very interesting. And that question is, who should politics be geared towards rewarding? See, in the last episode, we talked about the kind of personality that our political system rewards, and I'd like to now talk about, and with Horst, who should it reward? What kind of personality should politics reward? And how can we make that happen? Horst, what do you think?
I think that Plutarch has some stuff to say here, unfortunately, because I don't have the lives in front of me, which is just
Yeah, no, I
wasted
like it when you
opportunity.
quote ancient Greek
But the
sources, so go
ultimate
for it.
Plutarch was Roman, I'm pretty sure. But in any
Was he? All
case,
right, yeah, he was. Listen
when
to
we
me.
look at I'm sort of looking at this as the qualities that we want in leadership.
Hmm.
You want people who are well reasoned, who have sound arguments, who have a constructive vision for what they intend their communities to look like, um, who are of a sound moral character, who are incorruptible.
What does that look
And
like in practical terms? That's the question that comes to mind. What does this look like in very practical terms? Like we, let's just say we got a politician that had all that. What would their background look like? What would their what would it, we started learning about them. What are the kinds of things that we would learn about them?
I'm going to refer here to Cato the Elder. And there's the grimace that I expected to see. Just this very slight twitch of the eyebrow of Carl going, "That bastard."
Look, here's the thing though. I like hearing about it. So this is good.
When we look at Cato the Elder, we look at a man who came from a modest origin. Um, he was a man who worked on a farm. He learned under a as close a thing to a war hero as could exist in the Roman Empire. He knew the value of honest labor. He knew the value of discipline. And in later life, he made a lot of enemies because he was singularly inflexible about the virtue of discipline. When
Mm.
we look at the fall of the Roman Empire, it is said that even the Vestal virgins could be had for a price, that the politicians were drinking wine and eating of nature's bounty, even as the barbarians were at the walls. Um, when we look
Yeah.
at the earlier
I
days
was
of the
if I
Roman
could
Empire, we see an empire that treated virtue as something inherent to a successful person, and it
mm.
rewarded that in its politicians. I'm not saying we
Well,
want the Roman Empire because honestly, a lot went wrong there. But
yeah, well actually on what you just said then, because that was the way it was seen, and that's still kind of the way it's seen today, is that
mhm,
and it's kind of turning around among sections of society. But the idea that if you are successful, then you deserve to be that way because you have worked hard, or
mm,
you have done the hard yards to get there. You're a virtuous person.
a mix of prosperity gospel and Protestant work ethic. Those who are
Yeah,
failures are lazy. Those who are not worked for it.
yeah. And that it seems to be true, although again starting to change, because
Mm-hmm.
mostly what we have now are the children of rich parents who have never worked a real day in their life, never done a hard day's work in their life, basically either running the show or playing a part in running the show, and everything's going to hell. We see that all around the world. And in Rome, they had very much the same thing. They had so many generations of decadence that, even as you said, as the barbarians were at the gates, they were still they didn't like they couldn't grasp the possibility that Rome could even be threatened. They couldn't grasp they were so the concept was so foreign, so alien to them. And they even, they there was an effective general who tried to stabilize the Roman West. And I actually have no doubt that if he'd been given more of a chance to do so, he might have actually done it. I think he probably would have. He seemed to understand it, at least in his actions. He seemed to understand what needed to be done. But
I'm
the
hmm,
Roman Senate had him assassinated because they thought that, he would be a tyrant. In other words, demanding like a minimum level of, taxes from them, as well as trying to push like, that some of them should serve in the military to show, a little bit of solidarity with everyone else. We should take part. Basically doing your fair share of the work to keep society moving and you know, not falling over. Um, and that kind of level of decadence is in part, I think, what we're seeing not as much in Australia, but still in a fair
I
few
don't
places
know.
around the world.
It's
I mean,
even in
look,
Australia, it's looking that way. I will
yes.
refer back to Cato for a moment here because I found the exact quote that I was looking for in an
Mm.
exchange with Scipio. He said that Rome would only be at her greatest when plebeians contended in virtue with their superiors in birth and reputation.
Never thought I'd agree with Cato wholeheartedly.
I know, right?
Oh God. Okay, wait, is this Cato the elder or the younger?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
because
is
okay,
this is
because
Cato the Elder.
yeah, the one who had a go at Julius Caesar, because one
I
of them
mean, a
one of
lot
them
of
had.
people had a go at Julius Caesar. In fact, I believe the entire Roman Senate at one point.
I mean, yes, okay, but I mean in the early days, before the Civil War ended up happening, when Caesar was just, even just a senator, not even like consul before he became consul. There was, in fact, when he was consul, one of the first things that he tried to do was land reform, and Cato, um, just tried to like because they had a tradition where basically people would talk and then it'd go in terms of rank of seniority. But Cato just kept talking and talking and talking. He was trying to run out the clock on the day's session in order to not have the bill pass. And the thing is, though, Caesar actually tried his
Filibustering.
yeah, he filled that base, yeah, filibustered. And he was like Caesar had very much tried to um he tried to really hold the Senate's hand throughout this. He explained every part of the bill, how it would work in practical terms, really, really got them a good understanding of why this was needed. Um, and then he was doing that, and well, then he tried to have Cato arrested, and it all went to hell. But so I'm just wondering whether it was Cato the same Cato
No,
that
no, that was Cato Minor, Cato the Younger.
okay, yeah, yeah. See, it's Cato the younger that I hate. Cato the elder sounds
Yes.
like a wise guy.
And it's annoying, right? Because Plutarch did a treatment on both of their lives.
Oh, so yep, bloody
Yeah.
Plutarch.
In any case, I think we've gotten a little bit waylaid here.
Yeah, yeah, we went. Yeah,
Because
it's all right.
the
We're still
point
within
is
time, but
we are, but I guess the point here is that it's a sense of duty, an inflexibility insofar as moral virtue,
mm,
combined with sufficient flexibility to adapt their thinking to the facts.
mm.
Like no climate change deniers, no nut job anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Okay, I don't particularly like giving this person credit, but I'll give them credit here because they did have a sense of duty. Former Prime Minister Tony Abbott.
Absolutely.
I disagree with him wholeheartedly on a lot. I don't think he was a good prime minister. I
This
think
is
that
the
his
man who,
ideas
in the
were
middle of bushfire
half-baked.
season, this is a man who, in the middle of bushfire season, told the news crews to fuck off because he had work to do and then went back
Yeah,
to holding a hose. In
yeah,
stark contrast to Scott Morrison, who, as we all know, doesn't hold a hose.
yeah. See, I will like even though I hate his politics and think that he was a half-baked prime minister, I will always respect him because of that. It's, and you know what? I think actually, right, that is kind of a, not to talk myself up or anything, that's kind of a demonstration of what we need. We need somebody who is willing to recognize the fact that they don't like and
Heartbreaking.
treat it
Someone you hate
as a
just made a
fact.
good point.
Yeah. Yes. Um, so yeah, that's basically what we need is somebody who is willing, I guess somebody who is willing to put their feelings aside in their sense of duty for the nation.
Okay, so how do we get that kind of person in politics? Like
God, how do we get that kind of
create
person?
changing the political system is the project of decades.
Yeah.
Changing the systems underpinning society. We're not overthrowing capitalism anytime soon. Sorry to any communists who are watching us. Right now, we've got to
Or
be
at all, just to
pragmatic.
be clear, like communism has more in common with religions than it does economic models, but that's a that's another story.
Um,
It's
like overthrowing systems en masse, but subtle tweaks to them. Like, how
yes,
do
I
we
think okay.
encourage someone who has principles and a moral core and the ability to govern wisely, as opposed to a wacky, like wavy, inflatable tube man full of hot air, which is what we seem to get.
Yeah, okay. So how we get that through tweaks to the system. Um, I mean, look, let's talk in broad strokes. What we need is to remove money from politics. We need to essentially limit political donations, um, to the nation, citizens of Australia, to the exclusion of all other entities. So no corporations, unions, special interest groups, foreign entities, lobbyists, none of them can donate to political parties. And we need to regulate that through like a special donations bank, like a bank that only handles political finances. So we need a limit on donations, a limit or a to regulate it through a political finance bank, and we need all the records of that bank to be published in real time so anyone can view it. That would provide a limit on the amount of influence or corrupting influence that can be had. It would provide absolute transparency and the ability to determine who a person's politics is meant to benefit because it will be the same as those who fund them. So I think that would be one big thing.
I just need to correct myself quickly. Earlier,
Hmm?
you are correct that Plutarch was Greek.
Told you, sir. Actually, to be honest, I really didn't know. Because Plutarch did live after Caesar, and he actually described what Caesar's last campaign would have been like if he had actually gotten to do it. But anyway, that's a whole other
Yep,
story,
I can see that
which
right
maybe we'll
now.
get to. Yeah, we'll maybe get to that another time because it is interesting. But for now, we have run out of time. Is there any last thing you'd like to say, Horst, before we head off?
There ought to be a law. I mean, no, actually, I'm I'm going to quote Deus Ex here, the computer game from 2001.
Okay,
I
yep.
can't control a man's mind. Um, Ultimately, the way to settle this would be to be able to see into people's heads whenever they were seeking to take office. But we cannot just rip people's thoughts
Oh,
out of them.
you just gave me an idea. Basically have them undergo a psychological examination. Have anyone seeking public office undergo psychological examination. Just an idea. We'll maybe talk about the idea another time. But yeah, that's what you're
Bring way
causing.
too much bias into this, and we'd effectively be outsourcing our responsibility to make character judgments to professionals in a way that would undermine the entire concept of democracy. I
Well, okay,
understand, but I
let's
think
discuss
it's
this in a future episode. Let's make this a future episode because I disagree. Let's make it a future episode. For now, though, we are running over time. Thank you for watching. Very interesting thought there, Horst, and we'll catch you later.
good night, y'all.